Ruth Scott has a small bungalow and lives on her own. But still, her energy bills were so high, they drove her out of her home.
It was about £35 a day to run 4, I think they were 200 watt heaters. And you just can't sustain that kind of a bill. I'd go and stay with my family so that I didn't have to, pay the extra bills, just sort of go off for a week or two or even a month and not know that I was racking up bills at home.
So in order to manage the bills, you would almost have to leave home for a month?
Pretty much, yeah.
But today, a glimmer of hope. For a few months at least, bills are coming down a little. It's thanks to falling wholesale gas prices and a decision to scrap a Conservative-era energy efficiency scheme, which was funded by levies on bills and move charges onto general taxation. The lower energy price cap means an average dual fuel bill for people on standard variable tariffs will fall 7%, from £1,758 to £1,641. That's a saving of £117 a year, or around £10 a month. People on fixed tariffs will also see a reduction in their bills. But the savings don't add up to what the Chancellor promised in the autumn budget.
For every family, we are keeping our promise to get energy bills down and cut the cost of living. With £150 cut from the average household bill from April next year.
Customers won't see the full amount because of increased charges for maintaining the energy infrastructure. And the Conservatives say people will find the money off their energy bills is simply added to their tax bills.
I removed some of the renewable obligations from energy bills and put them on general taxation because it is fairer that those with the broadest shoulders pay more to support building up our energy infrastructure.
Back in Nottingham, Ruth Scott's bungalow now has solar panels and a heat pump, thanks to a government grant.
It's amazing, even when it's -5, it still generates the heat to heat the house.
Ruth's saving nearly £700 a year, but most people are paying around £400 more than in 2022. The fuel poverty charity which helped Ruth has hundreds of people on its waiting list.
You hear stories of how they were living in one room simply because they couldn't afford to heat the house, and stories of making that choice, that dilemma of, do I pay for my heating or do I pay for my food? And that is irregular.
The government says there is more to do to bring down bills, and it's aiming to have cut them by £300 by 2030.
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the Minister responsible for energy consumers, Martin McCluskey, and I began by putting to him that this price drop is still a fraction of what bills have gone up by over the years.
Look, we saw from the Resolution Foundation at the weekend, the Independent Resolution Foundation published a report which showed that they expect, in real terms, energy bills to be £200 cheaper this year in 2026 than they were in 2024. So this is going in the right direction, and we obviously made a pledge at the election that bills would be £300 lower, and we believe we're on track to meet that, and that's by 2030. And that's why I'm saying, we are driving forward for clean power by 2030 so that we can have more control over the price that we pay, because like you say, bills are still too high.
Yeah.
We have a situation where gas and wholesale prices are still the biggest part of the bill. We're too open and exposed to gas, and we need to make sure that we're building those renewables.
There is another way of thinking about it, which Reform is trying to sell to people, which is clear away the other aspects of green measures within the bill that people are still facing, and you could cut energy bills at a swipe.
But look, that is a route to ruin, frankly. We have a situation where if we went down that line, we're talking about, they're talking about costs on the bill that are about building the network, building the grid, making sure that we have a grid that's going to last us for decades to come. Some of these parts of the grid that we're investing in at the moment haven't been upgraded since the 1960s. Yeah. That's what we're talking about.
While I have you, I'd like to talk to you about what looks like a Whitehall farce over the Chagos deal. In the House of Commons today, the Minister, Hamish Faulkner, told MPs that the deal is pausing while you talk to the Americans. He was then contradicted by Number 10, and the Foreign Office said he misspoke. Didn't he just tell the truth?
Look, I think let's take one step back just before I address that question directly. Why is this so important? This is so important because
just answer the question.
It's central, but it's central to our national security, and I think it's important for your viewers to understand that the reason why this is on the TV, the reason why we've made this deal, is because this base is central to our national security. There is no pause. We are working through this just as
And
we
why
were.
did he say there
just
is?
as we were before. Look, Hamish misspoke, and it happens to the.
What
it
do you mean
happens to the best.
misspoke?
It happens to the best of us.
What he said? He meant to say
it
something else, but it came out as pausing.
Look, there is no pause. We are moving forward through this. In terms of the timelines for the legislation, which is obviously still under consideration by Parliament, we'll bring that through in the usual manner.
I mean, I know you've been given a line to take, but this idea that somebody misspoke just sounds ridiculous. He said it's pausing. That's not. I meant to say it's not pausing.
Look, I think you've seen this afternoon. It's been clarified. There is no pause, and we will publish and go forward with the legislation in the usual manner.
But you are talking to the Americans, aren't you?
timelines.
Because Trump has said don't do
Of course,
it.
we talk
so
to the
you
Americans.
can't go
We
ahead.
talk to the Americans all the
Therefore,
time.
there is a pause.
We talk to the Americans all the time on a number of different issues.
But you can't go ahead at the moment, can you?
And you would expect us to be talking to them about this because it's not just this base isn't just important for us in the UK and our national security. It's also important for the US and their national security.
Didn't the minister just tell the truth, which is that while you talk to the Americans, you can't go ahead with transferring it to Mauritius. So he just told the truth.
The legislation is in the House of Commons. We'll come forward with that in the usual manner, and there is no pause, and we'll come forward with that legislation.
So there is no
as you would
delay
expect
being
us
caused
to.
by the fact that Trump says don't do this.
Look, there's no the legislation is there, and you've seen it. It's in the House of it's
and you can't go ahead without Trump say so, can you?
And we will continue talking to the Americans about that deal. But I think it's really important to come back to why this is so important. This is so important because that base at Diego Garcia is absolutely crucial to this country's national security. And they are conversations which I'm sure, I'm not involved in those conversations, but I'm sure the Prime Minister is having with the President of the United States.
Martin McCluskey, thank you very much.
Thank you.